First, a Chinese-American 9-time champion crafted top-tier Chinese kitchen knives that took the internet by storm. Later, the Forged in Fire competition rode the wave, sparking a kitchen knife frenzy that swept the arena. Unlike usual, right at the start of the episode, the host dressed up as a butcher, held a kitchen knife in hand, and immediately announced the competition rules. Contestants must forge a unique kitchen knife, using the iron hooks in front of them. Within 3 hours, the total length should be between 20 to 25 centimeters, the blade length no less than 9 centimeters, the width no less than 3 centimeters, and there must be a multifunctional round hole at the top of the blade tip. As the host brought his knife down, the competition officially began. Doug was the first to step up. After selecting his hooks, he immediately started cutting, removing the sharp hook tips, and keeping only the cylindrical roots as forging material. After heat treating the 3 cylindrical steel pieces, he instantly switched to cold water quenching mode, pushing the speed to the limit, never considering the risk of the steel billet cracking under the pressure of thermal expansion and contraction. Even more impressive than Doug was DJ. He picked 4 iron hooks in one go, did a quick preliminary treatment, and then began heat treating the steel. Once the steel was heated, he first used a power hammer to lengthen the billet, then swung his hammer to widen and forge the billet, refining the details of the blade blank meticulously. On the other side, after forging 2 pieces of steel, Clea immediately started heating and forging them. Due to being too hasty, the billet did not match the standard dimensions. He had no choice but to reforge the iron hooks and then fuse them together. It was not until an hour later that Clea obtained dimensionally compliant billets again and continued with the next step of stamping. Unlike the previous 3, Justin abandoned cylindrical steel and chose iron hooks as his raw material. After applying flux to the inner side of an iron can, he then placed the cut hooks and iron powder inside the can together. He put the prepared iron can into the forging furnace, planning to show off his advanced canister Damascus forging technique. At this crucial moment, after heat treatment, Justin used a press to stamp the steel billet, but just after cutting off the cross-section to remove the can. As he stood up to grab a brush for cleaning, the steel billet accidentally fell to the ground. The high-carbon steel he had obtained shattered into 2 pieces instantly. Helplessly, Justin had to start all over again. After lengthening the steel billet, Doug resolutely cut off the excess part. After confirming there were no cracks in the billet, he finally picked up his hammer and showcased full hand forging to shape the blade. While the others worked in an orderly manner, Clea ran into a problem. Due to temporarily adding more steel, the forged billet failed to fuse properly. Faced with this mistake, Clea did not adjust or remedy it in time. Instead, he cut off part of the tang and reforged it onto the flawed billet. This operation not only retained the defects, but also increased his workload, making people can't help but worry if he could finish on time. In contrast, Justin next to him, though he had to restart due to a previous mistake, after adjusting his approach, with smooth processes and skilled operations, not only quickly caught up with the progress, but also easily surpassed everyone else in less than an hour and a half. Taking the lead, he was the first to complete quenching. After quenching, Justin fired up the angle grinder and carefully polished the marks left by the quenching process. Shortly after, DJ became the second to finish quenching with a straight blade that had no issues whatsoever. As time passed bit by bit, Clea finally caught up and finished quenching in 3rd place. But looking at the blade billet that still hadn't fully fused, it really made people hold their breath for him. At the last moment of the competition, Doug also completed quenching on time. When the countdown ended, the contestants gathered in front of the judges. What kind of kitchen knives will the 4 create? Who will be the first to be eliminated and leave the arena? Let's wait and see. When it comes to the difficult-to-forge steel materials in Forged in Fire, the Devil Steel Cable is definitely on the list. It not only causes many contestants to fail frequently, even the judges who conduct the strength tests have suffered a lot from it. To test the strength of the 4 new contestants, less than 5 minutes into the opening, the program team directly brought out the Devil Steel Cable. They required the contestants to use the steel cable as raw material within 3 hours to forge a distinctive short blade. The tang should adopt a through-core design, and the length should be kept between 22 and 30 centimeters. With an order from the host, the 4 contestants quickly got to work. Since the steel cable is prone to fall apart during forging, to prevent the steel cable from splitting into pieces during forging, Todd gave up direct forging. He first disassembled the steel cable into several small steel rods. After welding the ends of the steel cable together, he then threw the steel into the furnace. When the red-hot steel billet was taken out of the furnace, he sprinkled borax on it. He used a hand hammer to forge the steel billet forcefully. After fusing the steel billet with a hydraulic press, his next plan was to forge a practical paring knife. Similar to Todd's idea of disassembling, Sam also took the steel cable apart into several small steel rods. However, he was more careful than Todd. He also polished the disassembled steel rods. After confirming that the steel impurities had been successfully removed, Sam put the small steel rods into the furnace. His idea was to forge a straight blade with a narrow belly. After welding the red-hot steel rods, the next step was to cut and fuse the steel. Different from the first 2 contestants' way of disassembling the steel, DJ chose a more hardcore forging plan. Without any extra processing steps, he put the steel cable directly into the furnace to heat it. Although the roaring flames could remove the impurities inside inside the steel cable. The next moment, without any welding, he directly twisted and fused the red-hot steel cable. This method left all the judges stunned, since he did not weld the steel cable and directly forged and pressed the steel cable. DJ's steel completely fell apart during forging. Faced with this sudden failure, although he felt a little helpless, he could only pick out the parts that could barely be used and weld and heat them again. But even so, the red-hot steel still deformed. Seeing that he sprinkled a lot of flux, the steel still failed to fuse successfully. Instead, it became a mess. He had to rethink the method to remedy it as soon as possible. On the other side, Derek also chose to process the steel cable directly. Unlike DJ, before putting the steel cable into the furnace, he first welded the ends of the steel cable together. After getting the red-hot steel cable, Derek added a large amount of flux on it. Fortunately, this method worked well. He successfully got a good steel billet. Good steel requires good forging skills. To ensure the quality of the formed blade blank, Derek directly took out his own forging tools. He stretched and lengthened the blade blank. After a round of powerful hammering, the blade blank gradually took shape. With only 1 hour left, Todd successfully made the blade blank. After a round of heavy hammering by hand, the blade body was completely formed. After heat treating the blade blank, Todd was the first to complete the quenching. On the other side, Sam also reached the critical stage before quenching. After polishing the details of the blade body, he directly showed off his edge quenching technique. After heating the blade body with a blowtorch, he also completed the quenching. Just when everyone thought DJ's steel cable could not be saved at all, DJ managed to fuse the blade blank with his solid forging skills. Not only that, he even caught up with the progress in time. He completed the shaping of the blade blank and successfully finished the quenching. In just 1 hour, he successfully turned the tide of defeat and even overtook the 2 contestants beside him. The quenching effect was also very good. The blade body was straight without any problems. This amazing comeback left the judges greatly impressed. With only 2 minutes left on the countdown, Derek was still polishing the blade blank. Can he successfully complete the quenching before the countdown ends? Let's wait and see. This is the most flashy masterpiece in Forged in Fire, the Iron Blood Battle Axe. Its sharpness is maxed out. It easily passes the strength test, but who would have thought such a cool and sharp weapon was the result of a top contestant's hardcore forging in just 15 minutes. To hold a duel among forging masters, the program team deliberately raised the difficulty. Devil steel cables, ball bearings, lawnmower blades, all kinds of hard-to-forge steels were brought out. The contestants were required to use these steels within 3 hours to forge a distinctive short blade. The blade length should be no less than 23 centimeters. The total length of the blade should not exceed 41 centimeters. After the competition started, the contestants stepped forward one after another. They picked the steel materials they wanted. Trenton took the lead. He picked a bearing column for himself. He planned to forge a hunting knife with a drop point tip. First, he controlled the temperature. He heated the hard-to-forge cylindrical steel. Then he used a power hammer to fuse the red-hot steel billet. After finishing the preliminary preparation, Trenton directly picked up his hand hammer. He started forging the blade shape. Thanks to his rich experience, while others were still processing the steel, Trenton had already successfully forged the blade shape. This forging speed surprised all the judges. On the other side, who also chose cylindrical steel as raw material, had a different idea from Trenton. He planned to make a multifunctional camping knife. Since there was no need to worry about the strength and toughness of the steel, Chad also kept a good rhythm in forging. He also forged the blade shape easily, but eagerness often leads to mistakes. The blade shape he forged was too short. It did not meet the competition requirements. Looking at Chad's confident look, the judge had to step forward to remind him in person. He got a warning from the judge before the competition ended. In desperation, Chad had to pick up his hand hammer and forge again. He tried his best to lengthen the blade blank, different from the previous 2 contestants' material choices. Chris considered the time limit. He decisively chose a file as the raw material. After all, this kind of steel was relatively easy to forge and shape. Finally, if there were no mistakes, he could finish it within the specified time. Chris first heated the file blade. Then he directly started the hand hammer forging mode. Since the file blade was not easy to control, accidentally, Chris's finger was scratched, but he didn't care at all. After simple hemostasis treatment, he turned around and continued the unfinished forging. He manually sprinkled water to control the temperature of the blade blank. Coupled with the pure manual forging mode, the whole process was perfect. The details of the blade body were also adjusted quite well. As an experienced forging veteran, Grant chose a crowbar as the raw material. He decided to forge a Bowie knife. Although the initial steel processing was a bit strenuous, his practical skills were there. In a short time, he quickly started forging the blade shape, but maybe it was because he was getting older, his physical strength decreased. He only hit a few times with the hand hammer. Grant couldn't hold on anymore. His hands also started to shake. He had to leave the field temporarily. Thinking about the unfinished competition, Grant rested for a while. Then he returned to the competition field immediately. Before they knew it, only half an hour was left. The contestants had all finished making the blade shape. They turned to polish and adjust the details of the blade body. Trenton continued to take the lead. After accelerating the heat treatment, he successfully completed the quenching first. But unexpectedly, in the next moment, black spots appeared on his blade body, and a crack also appeared at the tail of the blade. With only 15 minutes left in the competition, just when everyone thought he would submit the short blade with such flaws, Trenton had a new idea. He randomly took a piece of scrap steel plate. After simple cutting, he directly used a hand hammer to remove the excess part. Then he quickly heated the steel. Then he used a power hammer to forge, to lengthen and stretch the blade body. At the same time, the other 3 contestants also completed the quenching one after another, but soon Chad found a crack also appeared on his blade edge. After some consideration, Chad resolutely decided to forge again. Can the 2 contestants who chose to forge again successfully finish making the short blade before the countdown ends? What kind of works will the contestants bring? Let's wait and see.